Phil Spencer!
Phil Spencer! Phil Spencer! Phil Spencer, baby, let's go! Yes! Yes! Yes!
I think he's crying.
改めまして
So what do I call you? Like, is it Ginger or Brian?
You can call me Ginger Prime. Either one.
I'm going to call you Ginger Prime
is the
because that
brand.
makes me pretend that you're a robot. And
There
then
he
you're also a stand-up comedian, which I definitely want to talk to you about. This is the clip that I saw over the weekend.
Phil Spencer!
Phil Spencer! Phil Spencer! Phil Spencer, baby, let's go! Yes! 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 Yes!
I think he's crying.
改めましてマイクロソフトゲーミング CEO の
He's crying.
フィル・スペンサーさんです。ぜひ大きな拍手をお願いします。
Somebody in the chat says, Paul says I had less emotion when my son was born. You got a lot of shit on this over the weekend because I've seen your feed and I saw you made a couple of videos.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask the obvious questions first, because my understanding is, because the way this looked at first was, like, even someone in the chat was like, oh, these people need to stop idolizing these executives. And I'm like, that's how it looked at first. It looked like you had a boner for the individual, which is fine. But that's kind of what it looked like. And then when I did a little bit more reading and listening to you, it's like, you tell me why you were excited.
So for the longest time, I've been following, I'm a Final Fantasy fan. I've always, the hardest thing to be in life is an Xbox fan and a Final Fantasy fan. You always end up, having to kind of like wait it out. You're always kind of second class in this case. And so since they announced Final Fantasy 14 all the way back before they even remade it, I've been following this game. I was covering it as a fan before I even knew what content creation was. And so I was just excited, and I've been advocating since its announcement for the PS3 that this game should come to Xbox. And I don't know if you've seen any of my illustrations, but I would make illustrations. I do like campaigns for signatures as a part of when I became a content creator years later. I made it a big part of like gaming should be for everybody. Gaming should be like because I know a lot of people who aren't as fortunate as me who can't afford every system, and so
right, you have a play. Like a lot of people were like, "You're just some Xbox fanboy," but you've got everything.
My PlayStation, and it's connected right here. I do all my Xbox stuff through actually more my PC now, and I do a lot of cloud gaming now too through GeForce Now, which that's actually my next. I said the next mission is let's get Final Fantasy 14 on GeForce because. It's a great service that
But why was it so? Okay, but why was it so? So first off, the catharsis and the expression of that was not so much, oh my God, Phil Spencer's a god among men. It's that he's here to announce what I have been trying to get for the longest time.
The longest time. In fact, the only regret I have is 1 minute prior to that, I was like, guys, just crazy thought I had. How wild would it be if Yoshi P brings out Phil Spencer as kind of his last announcement?
Right.
And I thought of it and I was like, I'm not going to talk about it because I'm going to eat so much shit, because every time I talk about like games should be in more places, some fanboy on one side or the other will just come in and they'll be like, you're wrong, Brian. And here's whatever. And I'm like, no, man, like this is good. This is good for gaming. And I wish I would have said it because it would have been a perfect moment for the clip, but it was very cathartic. It's, I guess, to be crude as a part of kind of a stand-up bit would be like how did it feel? It felt like you hadn't come in like 10 years.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because your bio says Christian. The number one thing is Christian. I'm like, can I talk about cum?
No, I get a lot of shit because of that too. Oh, dude, like if you should
I want to know if your wife saw the clip and will she still fuck you?
Oh yeah, we've been going at it, dude. I got 6 kids, bro.
But yeah, not now. But post clip, she's still gonna let you dip the whip.
She hates it when I cry. My wife hates it when I cry for sure. But then I just remind her that I'm a low T individual, and she married me and she's stuck with me.
Oh man, is she there now?
Not in the room, but
can
she's
you
downstairs.
go get her?
Well, she would not come on camera to say.
I don't have to see her. I want to hear. I want to ask her how she can still be attracted to you. And I'm not insulting you. I'm curious.
I don't know. You can't insult me. It's my
superpower.
superpower.
Please go get her. Would you mind?
No, She will not do it.
She won't even talk to you.
So I'm extroverted. She's introverted. So she
Yeah.
likes to be a fly on the wall.
Okay.
And she gives me the power. She's like, you go out and do whatever.
Right.
So she won't come to my comedy shows. She's not going to come on a podcast.
She won't come to your comedy shows.
But she sends me to the comedy shows.
That's
so
good.
it's like,
That's
oh
good.
yeah. She's like,
That's
go do it.
wonderful support.
That's her love.
Of course.
Every time she's seen me on stage, she gets uncomfortable. But I'm I get on stage. I do.
I've
comedy,
seen you do comedy. You put a clip on your Twitter, and you guys should go take a look at it. I liked your opening line.
Yeah, not
It's
safe for work.
I'm glad to be here tonight, so I can get away from my kids. I like that line because I have two kids. Yeah. So then your response. Why do you care so much then? If you have everything, like what? Why be on this? What is it? Chaotic is what they call it. The sort of Don Quixote, foolish quest to get these games. I mean, I don't mean it's genuinely foolish, but what's so important to you that it would, elicit that emotional response? Why does it matter that some people can play on an Xbox now because you can play it on everything? What's that about?
Because gaming gives us the ability to have difficult conversations. It has the ability for us to break down barriers. You call out that, like, I have on my bio that I'm a Christian. I get a lot of bigotry because of that, but I don't apply that back to anybody, right? Like, I get it, but I'm not going to hide that fact. If someone doesn't like me because of that, they're fine. They're perfectly fine not to follow it. It like literally doesn't bother me at all. But that's something, who I am and is a part of my history. Coming as an atheist into Christianity, like, that's a big part of like who I became and how I became who I am. But in that kind of foundation, I find gaming to be this gorgeous language. I view games as a miracle. Like, I work as a software developer. I know how hard it is to get things done. And the fact that you could get 50 people, 100 people, 200 people, the budget, all these moving parts, and create a work of art that really impacts people's lives. I just say, let's continue to remove any barrier for that, because it allows, because I got friends, I was also a theater kid. I've grown up in like every situation from every walk of life with every identity. And for me, it's always just like, we can come together and we can, like, even if we disagree on whatever, we could talk about what games we like. And so I find gaming to be a very important language, very fundamental to who we are as human beings. Games are key to just things like from what we created very early on, and when we could walk and talk and create language. And so
the fact that
we've
we've advanced in game making, and I don't know what kind of software development you do. I don't develop software, but I worked only in games, so I never did anything else. But the fact that as we advance it gets closer and closer to what is clearly a desire to build our own worlds, right? And to sort of almost, there is something, I'm sure you could take a religious angle on it and say, look, we are creating, if you are a religious person like you are, we are creating this stuff sort of almost as I don't know if it's an homage or it's a natural response to want to replicate what happened to us. But I mean, you're right. You're making the worlds the way they look, the fact that everyone can be in those worlds together. And then on top of it, the weirdest thing, although I have to imagine it goes, I'm not sure. The more you look at how games are developed, the more you recognize the psychological components that are also parallel to the way we view the world. Like, I was reading recently about this thing called the psychological problem of going through a door. And apparently the brain has this concept where if you get up and leave a room, one of the reasons you go, why did I come in this room? Is that the brain literally will dump some short-term memory when you leave a room and go through a threshold. This is like science. I was like, you're shitting me. But that's games, right? It's like, oh, we don't need any of that anymore. Dump all of that shit and let's focus on what he's looking at now. And so there's I don't know how much of it is we have engineered our software to reflect how could we engineer it any other way because that's how our brain works, or is it sort of almost unintentional? This is what creation is, So I love the whole fucking thing. I think it's fascinating. But your wife will still fuck you.
Yeah, of course.
Amazing.
We just had our sixth kid a couple of months ago.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Yeah. I have two. I'd love four more. They're
That's
joy.
What I hear from a lot of people. It's like, we're right now in the thick of it. So like my oldest just turned 9. Obviously the youngest is 3 months. And so like we've got like, you know, we all packed them up. We couldn't actually have children. So for me, I told her.
Oh, you adopted them?
No. My wife had a brain tumor.
Okay.
And we couldn't actually conceive. And after she ended up having brain surgery. Long story, actually a part of the comedy set, some parts.
Okay.
But anyway, long story short, I always said, like, if she comes and says that she wants a kid, the answer is yes. And I don't ever want her to worry about it or stress about it. I'll figure out a way to provide.
You mean you couldn't have kids because there was this medical emergency happening, not you weren't capable and suddenly
we were not capable. The tumor was preventing her from actually like ovulating, conceiving, and things like that. We didn't know this. We kept trying. We found this out, and then we
never
like,
knew that could happen. Okay.
Oh, it was wild. It's like a part of the pituitary gland right here in the front, and it just kept growing and growing and growing, and and it was expensive too.
I'm going to jump all over the place, but
I love these conversations, man.
I do too. I so appreciate you doing it, especially on short notice. So you do this clip, you get a lot of hate. Would you?
A lot of love too. So many people just like absolutely over the moon, saying that this really, really resonated with them. But because we're talking about social media, we always got to recognize the things that get the attention are the extremes, the biggest highs and the lowest lows. So,
but when you're doing that bit, you're not. There's nothing in your brain going, this is going to make a good clip. It is pure, genuine response.
No, afterwards, then I go, oh, I need to clip that. But like at the moment, like it was just absolutely exhilarating. Because it's like, you know, like that's live streaming in of itself. Because it's like, you know, I was thinking, because I wasn't able to go out to FanFest this year because we just had the kid. So there's a lot of things that is like, this would not have happened. Like if, you know, all these decisions that were made years ago,
right?
You know, me and my wife decided to have another kid. I was like, well, because I was like, I'm not going to leave her with 6 kids, stuck in a fucking house. You know, like that's it. That's the story I don't want trending on Twitter. Like, man leaves 6. You know, his wife stuck at home with 6 kids to go like.
You'd probably get a bunch of fucking social media fans for that, though. That's the funny part is that doing that, you know. But so. Am I right in saying I heard that Final Fantasy, that Phil Spencer said something, or what's his name, Yoshi P said something, that it's not just 14, but this is kind of the beginning of
a new partnership.
So does that kind of put the death to the whole Sony's going to buy Square thing, do you think?
I've never bought into the Sony buy Square. I've stated that people have talked about it. He's like, could Sony buy Square? I actually had my dad's a financial guy, so I had him look into the numbers, and he said it'd be tight. Like they could pull it off. Microsoft could easily just blink and buy, but I don't think they need to. Like all I need in this case, especially with Square, is like these exclusive or excluding deals. Like just bring the games to everybody and let people play. Because I'm tired of the Square Enix line of games didn't meet sales expectations. Right. Well, no shit, you didn't put it on PC. You didn't put it over here. You know.
Right.
Come on.
To be fair, though, Avengers never should have. But to say Tomb Raider or Shadow shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You know. But so, do you think Final Fantasy? I mean, there's no way to know, but you're batting 1,000 right now when it comes to guessing this stuff. Took you a while, but
like that's what I always say. People will say you're such an idiot. I go, I'm talking about in time. Like today, not happening.
So do you think we'll get the new Final Fantasy on Game Pass sooner than later then?
I don't think they'll start launching in Game Pass, but if they pulled off that deal, I could see how Sony could be really upset or quaking. Because essentially, if the thing is, because you got to remember, like you very well aware, anytime that a game is in Game Pass and also on PlayStation, you're also taking the commission from Sony for that sale, because someone's like, well, if I got both platforms, why would I buy it? You know, in
some people still love to buy their games, but I mean,
there's gamers who support. I'm a supporting gamer, right? Like Starfield's launching in Steam. I have Game Pass Ultimate. I still went and bought the Steam edition, because I'm excited for Starfield. I wasn't.
I'm excited too.
Until that last press thing, I was like, I don't know. Then I'm like, oh, I'm in. Let's go walk around some planets.
Right. But, I'm looking forward to it. So, do you think? Because I've heard you on your show, and then today a little bit you mentioned it about exclusivity. You don't like exclusivity, but
I understand it.
I was going to say, because without it, you know, you get not a lot, right? I mean, it's what drives a lot.
You're right. I would make the argument that as the industry evolves, and I think about this generationally, I think about like the kids. My kids don't understand exclusives, right? They boot up a system, they can play a game.
Do they even buy games? My kids don't buy games.
My kids don't. That's where also Game Pass is massive. But like even on the phone, like I limit their screen time. They're still fairly young, but like as they evolve and as other parents that have kids that come in, it's like they're playing Fortnite. Fortnite's everywhere.
Roblox,
they're playing
Fortnite.
Roblox. They're playing Minecraft. They're playing these games that cross-play, cross-save fundamentally changes a lot of the concepts around exclusive. And so I see it as a generational thing. And so I could support fully the concept of a timed exclusive. You're the publisher, you're the party, you're funding this project. Your goal is to sell console in this case, Sony's case. Okay, timed exclusive. But then you start to think, okay, well, that tail on that game has now kind of trickled out. Like whatever that is, let's say 2 years.
Right.
Would you want to say, hey, what about another million sales over on Xbox for those? And then why not Xbox just also have that same kind of reciprocation deal?
Right.
And then essentially it's just play first on your preferred piece of
but
plastic.
As a guy who clearly believes, and I do too, in sort of a streaming video game future, whether that future is 2 years away or 10 years, depends where you live.
It's close.
All that's going away anyway, right? The difference then will be, hey, what subscription service do you want to subscribe to this month? Well, they have Starfield 6 and the new Indiana Jones game, but Sony has a new God of War and a new GT. Let's do Sony this month, right?
Think Netflix and Disney Plus, right? You think of these two as I'm 100% with you, but those services run on every device.
That's right.
So just like it doesn't even that they have to make their games run on PlayStation. Just open up the cloud streaming aspect and vice versa. As the developer, I think of in the engineering perspective, if I only have to write one piece of software and then the streaming handles it and delivers it to any,
of course,
right, then I write one because
and
now
all your
14,
focus is on that code, and it's like that becomes my passion.
Well, because also as a developer, like I definitely buy and support the argument that making something for one platform is a lot easier.
Right.
100%. You can optimize, you get extra time and focus. You don't have to sit here and worry about anything else. So I see also the strategic benefit in, okay, we've made the game and now we can just push it to people who need it. And when you're talking about like 14 as an always online, people don't know it, but there are now 2 SKUs for Final Fantasy 14 on the Xbox, the Series S and the Series X. How that game is published is there's a compiled code base for each one of those, and they have to maintain that and test that. So there's a cost there.
14's not out yet, though, on the Xbox, is it?
It's coming this fall, as a part of their beta, and then it officially launches spring 2024.
Gotcha.
And it's got an unlimited free trial. So this fall, the free trial expands to include their expansion Stormblood, so you can play the entire story, level up every character, not give them a dime. But the weirdest thing is,
what's the cap? When is it a level cap?
Level 70. Level 70 and the MSQ. So once you
what is MSQ?
Finish, main story quest.
Got it. Okay.
So it is still like Final Fantasy 14 is a Final Fantasy game first, an MMORPG second. You can do almost everything as a single player story driven experience. But then there's other stuff that has that MMO aspect that comes into it. Like you're in a world and you see other players running around, yada yada yada. So it's like it's got that going for it. So
what do you know about, like, I was going to ask you, as a, like, I've never really gotten into an MMO. Is Final Fantasy 14 too hardcore to start with, or you like don't do that one first?
No, it's not too hardcore to start with, especially if you like story-driven games. The start of Final Fantasy 14 is probably its most challenging for a lot of players because it's slower. There's not a lot of voice acting, but as the game and the budget and everything improved, every iteration after that has just built off of this like a little bit slower foundation. So most people quit in ARR still. Those who stick
ARR
it
is
through,
the opening story.
Realm Reborn. That's that's their kickoff story. Good. Yeah, it's always good to remember that. I'm like, okay, you know, I speak in acronyms as a software dev, so it's like, yep, let me get back to normal human speak. But once you get past the opening offering, many people have all of a sudden that hook gets you. And a lot of people really, really connect with the story and the characters. And as somebody who's been, playing it and covering that game for 13 years, I'm very happy. Now, I retired from Final Fantasy 14 in October, namely to focus in on my health and my comedy career. And so right now, a lot of people...
The game wasn't affecting your health. You just mean you spent so
was.
Much time playing so you couldn't exercise? Or...
Well, exactly. People are like, how do you make content? How do you do it? I was like, I get up at fucking 4:30 in the morning. And then I play some games, and I go to work, and I try to make content, and then I try to play at night just so I could try to, somewhat like make content and do the guides and stuff like that. So I was like, guys, that's it. Like I'm done. So now I work out, 4 to 6 times a week, get up at the same time. But I've been focusing on losing the weight and trying to get essentially my A1C down, and literally just like, all right, my kids and my family, and that's what's got to come first. And
right.
So once I can lose 100 pounds, I'll be considering coming back, because I do miss the game. I do love it. I just was like, I got to do some radical changes in my life.
What have you heard of this? Is it called Tower of Fantasy or something? I've been seeing a lot of talk about this, and it looks more. I mean, there's a big thing on the PlayStation blog today. It looks kind of cool. I mean, do you know what this is?
Tower of Fantasy is a anime MMORPG. It's one of the free to play games. One of my friends, just shout out like Chaos Prime Zed. He's on YouTube. He covers it. So if you're looking for somebody who's really in and covering like the updates and stuff, right. Check out Chaos Prime, because he's awesome dude. Another fellow dad. I don't know. I've amassed some really good friends that are just content creators and also fellow dads. And so, but it's also like that. It's got controller support. From what I've played of it, I've played a little bit of it. It's fun. It's enjoyable. But when I played it, for me, it just made me more excited to play Blue Protocol, which is an upcoming game that's going to come out early.
Is that
next
the space
year.
one, the sci-fi one?
It's anime. It's semi-space. It's Amazon's publishing it here in the West.
I think I've seen a trailer that looked pretty cool. Visually striking.
And I've played it. I sneaked into Japan through a VPN and got to go hands on with it. They eventually did find me and ban me, but it was worth it.
That's awesome. Okay,
it was so fun.
My last question. I know I promise wouldn't take too much of your time, but I got to ask, as an atheist agnostic. I'm just, and I saw people in the chat asking, by the way, if I'm looking over, I'm not ignoring you. The chat's over here. So I just want to make sure
I'm,
accommodating those guys. But you were an atheist and now you're a Christian. I have to know, because I'm always so fascinated by religion and spirituality. And what was the thing that turned you from believing in nothing to believing not only in God, but a specific Christian God?
Also, like, I was raised, I was born Catholic, right? Okay. So my atheistic period was in high school, and it's like, I just was like, I don't believe in God. I don't know where he is. All of a sudden it felt like I was just abandoned, right? Okay. And nothing better than like coming in for video games. Let's talk about Jesus.
Hey, that's people fucking know the show. That's the fucking show,
So, well, I was 17 years old, and I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna put in the work. I'm a big action guy. My wife, she says this is my love's true cross, right? It's the double-edged sword. I'm action oriented. She knows I'm gonna get whatever I say done. Sometimes my wife wishes I would just chill the fuck out, right, and sit down. She's like, let's just sit down and have coffee. And I'm like, oh, but you gave me a mission. You told me that you want new floors. Right. So now I'm gonna go work my ass off, and we're gonna get some new fucking floors in this house. Like, it's like, I'm on a mission. Like, don't give me a mission, right? But I was like, you know what? Like, I don't know where the hell you are, right? I don't know if you're there, but you know what? I'm gonna put in the work. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna show up, and you do you.
Show up meaning show up to church.
I'm still gonna sit down and pray.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm still gonna go to church. I'm still gonna be active.
Okay.
I'm still going. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna study. And I studied a lot of the world religions too. Like, I was just like, I'm just gonna go find information.
Okay.
That's just kind of how I've always been.
Software developer, right? Yeah.
Give
me all the data.
Give me the data. Like, let's figure this out. Is what I've been told my whole life bullshit, or is it real? What do we need to know? So I started looking into everything, right? But I'm just like, I'm going to put in the work. I'm not going to sit here and, be lazy, right? Like, you're not going to get a 6-pack of abs looking at some guy do crunches. Like, it's like, I'm going to go do crunches. Okay. And so I just put in the work, and it was on Advent, the first Sunday of Advent. I'm going to Mass, and I'm sitting there in the front because I'm like, I'm going to pay attention. I'm not going to look at all the pretty girls, and I'm just going to sit here and focus up. And the Holy Spirit literally just lit my ass on fire. I had to leave church to go in the back because I couldn't stop laughing. I can't. It's hard to explain it. And when I open up the memories, my bones feel like they're on fire. Like, I felt like I was getting loved out of existence. It was something so unfucking believable that to this day, like, I was always questioning, like, why did God give me this experience? So I really understand when, like, an atheist gets angry, and I've met a lot of atheists who are angry at God. He doesn't exist, but fuck this, like, fuck this guy. Atheist.
I mean, I'm certainly an atheist / agnostic, but the atheist part of me is like, I don't know why they get so mad. It's like,
right. So there's some atheists that are just like, meh, and there's some that are like angry about it. But I've met like atheists like that now, and I was like, I don't have an answer to them. And one of my friends was like, you just actually this other 6 months ago we were just talking about it because I was telling him the same story, and he's like, you weren't seeking the good feelings of God. You were actively seeking God, and he revealed it. And so there's been many things in my life that I've been witness to that would make me sound like a crazy person, because it's like, oh wait, what happened? You saw what? And it's and I worked in hospitals, and I've seen insane miracles happen, and then you see also horrible tragedies, and you're just like, okay, and so essentially I've continued to read and learn, and essentially just really becoming fully aware of my place and my relationship with God now, that it's like, from a Catholic theologian perspective, everybody who's listening to this that's been baptized is actually a Catholic priest, man, woman. Like, if you're baptized, you're called a kingdom priest. And so I take that mantle and that mission very, very seriously, but as an act of love, right? So one of the things is like, I will do tough love, it's like, people like sitting here, like, calling me horrible things. It's like, dude, you need a swift kick in the balls, go fuck yourself and grow up. Like, I view that still as an act of love, in hopes that, they can, find a moment in which that they're like, all right, like, life, what am I doing? Why are you so mad on the internet all the time? Let's talk about that. Let's figure that out.
right.
Because whether that ends up being like, someone's like, oh, Brian's got to figure it out. I'm not here to essentially evangelize and tell people like, oh, you should believe in Jesus. But I'm here to tell people like, be a man, grow up, like, figure out who you want to be. Because if you don't, you're going to look back in your life and you're going to realize so much of it's gone by, and you're not going to get that time back. And for me, I'm so happy that I've always been kind of driven.
Yeah, no, well, yeah. So 2 quick questions on that. So for you, the belief in God sprang forth, it wasn't like a moment. It was, you attribute it to sort of doing the work, reading, studying, being open to it. And in that was the flip that got switched, that God had room to come in. It wasn't like
possibly, like, that's a good way to think of it, like that I made room. And so that, like, and again, on his time, like, it wasn't, it's not like, hey, do these things. And why he gave me that experience, I guess he'll, I'll know when I'm gone.
You never fucking know whether it's God or not. You never know how the ramifications of anything. This conversation right now could be creating a person who becomes super religious or abandons their religion. Who the fuck knows? My last question on that, I got to have you back on, because I find this topic.
Dude, I love talking.
I just love it. But so you say you've always been a guy of action, right? Mm-hmm. So you come to the planet wired to say, here's a problem. Yo, I'll solve it. Pick up. You come to the planet. That's a deep cut. It doesn't matter, Jaffe. Stay focused.
I love it.
You come to the planet wired to do things, to take action, to seek data. And in that, you put yourself in a position that you were able to let God into your life. But isn't that almost a place of privilege, though? What if somebody, is out there in the world and the only connection they have is their, Final Fantasy 14 clan on PlayStation, and suddenly these other guys come in, and even though it's totally childish and stupid, they weren't wired like you, or they didn't have parents like yours, or whatever, to get them into a headspace to go, hey man, I got to get my shit together, right? Mm-hmm. So what does God think about people like that? Like, why would God look at that person?
God loves them.
I know, but
loves them completely.
As a Catholic, you're assuming they're not going to get into heaven.
No, I'm not.
Oh,
that's
okay.
Actually
That's what I'm wondering.
A big misnomer, right? Because, like, from a Catholic theologian perspective, there's baptism of fire, desire, and blood. Okay. And in that regard, so like my baptism was that of what we call kind of the ordinary method, right? But through that, God knows you, David Jaffe, so well that he knows everything that you've had the opportunity to know about him and not know about him. And my personal belief is that you will get, and everybody will get, the opportunity to stand before God and have that realization and that revelation, whether it happens here or when they die. That's God's business, right? Like, I've never ever been one that's like, okay, yeah, you'd never heard of this or you live this way. However, when people, like, I think I haven't met anybody who actually rejects God. I know a lot of people who reject what he is not. You know, when people are like, oh, God is a being. God is not a being. He is being in and of itself. So a lot of people's rejection of it, every rejection that I've heard, isn't actually what God is. And so I actually align with a lot of those same rejections. Someone's like, God's a flying spaghetti monster, or God's just some powerful being floating above us that we can't see. No, that's not true at all. That's not what it is. And so the it's the nature of what it means to be. And I love studying theology now, so that's like kind of a big passion.
Yeah, I mean, there's a like I said, the reason I am agnostic is because when it comes to sort of what is going on, I've experienced enough things to go, I can't claim to have any fucking clue.
Right. There's something, maybe,
maybe sort of, maybe nothing, But okay, I could talk forever on this. I love that you're sharing this. Thank you for that. I want to have you back on if you're willing.
Anytime, dude.
But
anytime.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your stories and checking the chat if they have any. Yes, he's Catholic, Rap knows. And he's a software developer. So be nice or he'll...
And a stand-up comedian.
And a stand-up
who
comedian.
makes really dark jokes.
What's the best God joke you've got?
My oh fuck, I'm gonna get in trouble. But I guess if you don't Google the Catholic Church, my one issue is how exclusive the club is. I mean, I've got a cute ass. I can keep secrets. Nobody ever hit on me.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's probably better in the club.
You're saying because they molest kids a lot?
Yeah. It's child molestation.
Child. Yeah. Okay. So, but are you okay? But they do that though, right? There's a lot of that.
So there isn't a lot of that in the numbers. It's the hypocrisy that makes the news.
Okay.
When you look at like just the pure numbers provided from the government in terms of these kind of cases, your kids are being horribly molested in school, public, etc. But what makes the news isn't that in public schools there are bad people. What makes the news is person who claims to be a follower of Christ does horrible things. And it's horrible. Like there's no other way about it. Do you think it's the
celibacy thing, or it
has nothing to do with the celibacy thing, dude.
What is it?
I waited 28 years before my wife and I were virgins when we got married. I always said that I gave her. I never lost my virginity. I know who has it.
Right.
I gave it to her on our wedding night. But no, it has nothing to do with the celibacy thing.
Yeah, what is that? Is it the normal amount of child molestation? It's just the hypocrisy that shines a light?
No. Yeah, all of it is, one is too many. Like, one is too many.
Of course.
And it's just like, and especially as a parent, like, yeah, these are things that you have to be aware of. What it ends up being, from the studies that are done not by the Catholic Church, that were instituted from a third party to go and figure out what the F the problem is. You have a couple of things historically. You have a huge wave of like Marxist ideals coming in out of Germany and into the seminaries as a part of kind of a targeted plan to try and truly corrupt some of these young men to essentially kind of like facilitate, how do you do great evil? Like when you look at what we all are, that's one of the root things as being human, is we're all capable of great things and evil things. I always talk to like other men. I'm like, if you tell me that you think you will not cheat on your wife, I'm going to say you're a fucking moron and you're not guarding yourself well enough. Every one of us can do bad things. And so just know that about yourself and come up with a plan so you don't wake up one day going, oh shit, what did I do? And that's essentially like the kind of our human fallen nature. So you have a lot of that. Then you also have within the time, this is all really happening in the 60s and the 70s, sexual revolution. You got a lot of therapists and theories that's actually advising the church and the head, the bishops, etc., that these people can be reformed. And so the church kind of says, okay, well, maybe this is true. So instead of incarcerating and separating and getting these monsters, which is what they are, out, they move. And then they just go ahead and victimize more people. So you have a human population, that's just not understanding the danger of what is truly happening. And then you just literally the concept wolf in sheep clothing. Mm-hmm. And so you have and it's a massive betrayal. The church is going to have that scar for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And I go through training like as a teacher now. I go through training every year to catch these motherfuckers, right?
Good.
Like they don't just come into the church. Like they come, like it doesn't matter. They're going to go, monsters go where and try to find the weaknesses in the system. And that's essentially where, like, I don't care if you're Christian or not, like just start to pay attention. Like, who's this weird old dude hanging out with these kids?
Right.
Does he need, like,
Why
hey, do you
would he-
know
yeah.
these kids? Why, like, ask these questions. And what a lot of the training that I go through is getting over the fear of who the are you and why are you even around here? Like, to question everything. And the sad part is that I have to. That's why I use this, like why I use that kind of joke and the dark humor in my comedy, is just it's my therapy, man. It's just to sit here and process the evil, that is in the world.
Did you see that movie? Was it called The Cabin? The Shack. The thing where the guy loses his daughter and he goes out to the shack.
I can't handle it. I can't. Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I saw the trailer, and when it comes to stuff with that, like I can't
process.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you? You didn't lose anyone, did you?
I've lost a lot of people,
but not your children.
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
But it's like I'm trying my best.
Okay. The only reason I
not
ask
to be
is
a helicopter dad.
It was
I'm trying my best not to be a helicopter dad, but
that
it's
in the movie, he meets God. In the form of Octavia Spencer.
There's the book.
I love the movie, by the way. Even though I'm not religious at all, it's very moving to me. But he meets God, and he says, I know you love me, but how could you love the monster, that did this? And she's like, because I understand why, and I love them all. I mean, do you think that is God? So you call them evil. But do you think
God still loves them, right? God, loves us regardless, and that's where, like, it's the concept and the problem of evil is God's mercy and His justice balanced out. That's why, like, for me, I resonate real strong with the Catholic teaching of purgatory, right? Like, and even in a video that I released, I don't know if you've seen it, I posted on Twitter today. It's like I think everybody can be redeemed. Now, there's still, like from that kind of scheme, there is still a price to pay. There is still a debt owed. In God's mercy and justice. So it doesn't mean that everybody has to be damned to hell for all eternity. Right. But, that's where purgatory comes in. It's like working out your fear and, your salvation and fear and trembling.
Maybe that's what this is, right? A lot of people think that.
It could be, it's like, well, purgatory does actually exist on this planet.
Right.
It also, it can also exist after you're gone. So it's not necessarily a set in place, like you have to physically.
I think
go
it's
there
basically being managed under Matt Booty as purgatory. So listen, I'm going to let you go, but thank you so much. Yeah. I will delete this because I don't want your wife seeing it. It's the second time you've cried in 24 hours. It'll be over. Man. It'll be over.
I gotta go take my testosterone. Actually,
absolutely.
It's one of the things that I've discovered is like I've been doing all these workouts, just killing myself, not losing weight. Like, what the fuck's wrong with not drinking alcohol, not having sugar. And it's like I went to the doctor, like test everything. So I was thinking it was like my
thyroid,
endocrinology system, thyroid. He's like, no, my testosterone's in the junk. And so
How
I've been
old are you?
I'm 42. I just actually my birthday was when like 1 hour before Phil Spencer came on stage and stuff. I was like, this is my birthday. This is great. Right. No, so it's like, and that's one of the things that people like, based off of just my tenacity and they're like, we never thought, but it's like, dude, I tell you. I feel like I'm 20, and I thank God that I think like I'm 40.
You take like pills or shots or what?
Yeah, it's so funny. They gave me a pill that is a fertility pill for men. And my wife looked at me. Of course, we just have a little newborn baby, and she's like, "You got to be fucking kidding me!"
Right.
Like, but apparently, it's supposed to help essentially with the natural production. And having been on it for 2 weeks, dude, I feel like I'm the king of the world. Shit. And thankfully, I'm mature enough to know that I'm not going to go do some. Like, I was like, dude, I feel like fucking fighting. Let's go. So
well, I'll tell you what. It sounds
like,
great. I probably have low T as well, but there's no way I'm taking medicine for it because. If I take it, it'll probably make me want to leave the house. I don't want to leave the house. It'll be like, go out and do stuff. No, I want to stay inside. I hate going outside. Yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you soon. Good luck with the comedy. I'll keep an eye. I'm looking forward to seeing some stuff.
I hope so.
All right,
you guys enjoy it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Anytime, buddy.
See y'all later.
See you soon.
Bye.
All right, fellas. There he goes. There goes Good Sir Ginger Prime. Who would be a favorite in MMA? Ginger or Ginger? Are you shitting me? The motherfucker trains 5, 4, 6 times a week, and he's on testosterone. What, are you kidding me? I get one shot with that guy, a lucky punch, or I can get my gun out fast enough. That's it. That's it.